Welcome to this yoga practice. We're teaching this particular session right now while doing a yoga therapy training module. So this focus is going to be on the endocrine system and the lymph system. It'll also be addressing the nervous system, but primarily using practices first for the lymph system and then moving through the endocrine system. And we'll move through that system twice. You can see some different ways to do these practices. This is not particularly a beginner's yoga practice. It's more of a demonstration class for our yoga teacher training community. So if you have questions about anything in the video, please do put those down below in the comments. If yoga teacher training interests you, if yoga therapy training interests you, check this URL here on the screen and be in touch with us that way. And so now let's get into the practice. I'll see you there. Good morning and welcome for this practice. We're going to focus on the lymph, endocrine, and nervous systems and their interrelationship here, particularly their interrelationship with yoga. And yoga has this central channel that we call Shushumna, the Shushumna Nadhi, made of two words. Shushumna is sukha and mana. It means the easefulness or the happiness, sukha, of the mind, mana. So it's when the mind is in its easeful, contented, integrated, or happy place. And Shushumna Nadhi also means the central channel on which our vitality is flowing and from which it's disseminated out to the other nadis, 72,000 nadis in the body. And in the Shushumna Nadi, in the central channel, we touch the 7 energetic centers known as the chakras. And though there are way more chakras than 7, these are the 7 primary chakras on which the endocrine system can also be mapped. So that is an introduction to where we're going in class today. So please take a comfortable seat and rest your hands in your lap. Allow your eyes to close if that's comfortable for you, or bring your gaze down towards the floor so it's kind of downward and inward. And then as you're arriving, let the mind land as if it were maybe coming from outer space in its little spaceship and coming back down through the gravitational force field into the earth. So coming down out of the whirling nature of the head or the mind, drop down into your body and your breath. And take notice of how things are for you in the present moment here. What is the tempo of the breath? Or do you notice it geographically in the body? What is the inner attitude of the breath? And what do you sense about this primary channel in the body, the central channel? And allow your breathing to deepen. You're not coercing an experience, but rather cultivating or inviting an experience. Let the breath deepen down into the pelvic basin. And then the inhale rises up and it is also expansive. And for the exhale, also beginning at the pelvic basin and toning the low belly inward and upward. And see if you might imagine that you're breathing up and down the length of the central channel. And sometimes we find that through consistency and depth and duration in our practice, even if there's a swirl happening in your life, you take a seat, you come in, the breath is there, and this silk thread of attention reminds you that there is an indwelling self, an indwelling place of refuge and wisdom. And from that place, you'll be able to navigate whatever life is bringing to you. So if you're new to the practice, that may seem very subtle and kind of mysterious. So your primary aim when you're newer to the practice is simply to make the breath smooth and consistent right now. And notice yourself making that effort and cultivating that opportunity for yourself. We'll do that for 3 more breath cycles. Sense the kindness of your effort and even the generosity of your body's response to your effort. When I say the generosity of your body's response, I mean, when we give some kindness, attention, permission to the body, it generally responds more generously. It turns systems back on. It comes back into functioning. So it moves out of a fight or flight, freeze, submit response. So 1 more breath cycle. And you can raise your hands to your heart. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Savidyang Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Open your eyes as you're ready to. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Open your eyes. So we're going to begin by stimulating the lymph system a little bit, because if we're going to move the hormone system into action, let's say you've been in a fight or flight mode, so there's a kind of suspension of your body's best metabolic and hormonal function. It's responding to potentially chronic sympathetic nervous system activation. So if we want to then bring the lymph system to our aid, we're going to clear that first and then bring the hormonal system in to further move the hormones back into balance. So if the body gets backed up in the lymph system, then the hormones end up sitting around, excess hormones. Let's say you're recycling garbage and yard debris, hormones are still sitting there. So what we're going to do is clear the lymph system in a certain pattern. And starting here at the collarbones, what you can do is taking one hand, let's take the right hand to the left side of the neck and just making some circles right here above the collarbone. So you're asking for a kind of stimulation or an awakening here. And then you can tap that same spot maybe 10 or 12 times. And then other side. So take your left hand to the right collarbone. That means that I'm not right now mirroring you. So take your left hand to your right collarbone. As you rub there, just come in with an attitude of kindness and thoughtfulness, like, hey, thank you, hormones. Thank you, lymph system. Thank you, body. And we're going to tap. And then going up behind the ear, where the earlobe and the neck meet, making some circles here. As you make these circles, you can also say thank you. And then I like to brush down the sides of the neck. So you're going to bring that down to the collarbones. I crossed my hands. I find that easier. You can also keep them on the same side and just brush down like this. Okay, let's come up to the face. So you're going to come to the hinge of the jaw. This is what I would consider to be north of the primary lymphatic system near the collarbones. So hinge of the jaw, and then the place where the cheekbone meets the nose. That might be a little bit tender for some of us. And then moving from the cheekbone spot here up to the place where the eye sockets and the bridge of the nose meet. A little tender spot there. I like to clasp my hands and put the thumbs, and then I turn the head side to side or roll around the thumbs. These are some of the lymph points in your head. What we're going to do now is take the fingertips and rub across. So you're now inviting this energy to move down and out. So you're basically sending it over to that place behind the earlobes. And you can take your fingers and then just tap across the forehead over to your temples, from the bridge of the nose across your cheeks. I said this a couple weeks ago, I think. It's like when you park at the Oregon Country Fair and then everybody has to leave that parking situation thoughtfully together. Otherwise you get chaos. Equivalent would be parking at a large music festival. Okay, so now we've done the face and the collarbones. Let's go to the shoulders. So squeeze up and around, just getting some movement into the armpits. Not complicated, right? Do one shoulder at a time. Feels nice for the upper back. A little bit of a twist happens. Go the other direction. Okay, and then take the arms forward and squeeze and release, squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Okay, let's take the right arm out to the side and use the left hand. So what you're doing is use the hand like a little cup, and you can tap around the armpit region. And then other side. And that also comes towards the collarbone. Okay, let's take the arms up overhead, and we're going to inhale up, exhale down. Most of you know this practice. It's a kind of rapid breathing practice, and it's intended to move energy. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale up. And exhale, float the arms out to the side. Release the breath. Rest your hands in your lap. And notice the energy moving in your body. The next place to clear the lymph from is in the abdomen. We're basically going down the experience of the lymph system. So you're going to take that rolled blanket I was asking for before. And when you rolled it, it's a long rolled blanket. Place it down your mat lengthwise so that the end of the blanket that is organized, not frayed, the little fringes are down there. We use the organized end of the blanket. You rolled it pretty nicely. For those of you who missed that, let me just show that in case somebody's tuning in a little bit late. So here's the blanket, and you take it and you roll it. Mine was pre-rolled before class, a little bit like watching a cooking show where the vegetables are already chopped. All right, so you take that down your mat lengthwise and then lie on the little blanket roll on the edge of the blanket. Lie there where the abdomen, the diaphragm, and the solar plexus are. It should feel pretty gentle right now. I use the words, it'll feel pretty gentle right now. That's a precursor or a foreshadowing. So you can breathe into the place where the blanket roll meets the diaphragm and imagine the breath meeting the blanket and then releasing. And so there's a pulsation, much like your body has so many rhythmic pulsations, including the pulsation of lymph, a movement of fluid through the body, kind of like the pulse of the ocean. And then place your hands beneath your shoulders, press up to table pose. And let's take this first edge of the blanket here and just curl it, make a little knob of it like this. And then place the abdomen there again. So now you have a little bit less comfortable or more firm experience of pressure against the abdomen. And again, breathe in. And breathe out. You can roll a little bit side to side and be kind of exploratory. So you're asking the upper abdomen and even the diaphragm to release tension here. You're also stimulating the abdominal region for the lymph. We're going to roll down a little bit towards the navel, go side to side on your blanket. Part of what you might be noticing also as you roll side to side, you might be touching like the where the psoas, the upper psoas is in the abdomen. So this could be tender for a number of reasons. Could be your lymph system, could be the myofascial system, could be the psoas, the diaphragm. Let's place the hands beneath the shoulders. Press up to table pose, and let's go back to child's pose. Drop your hips back to your heels. In this case, let's unroll the blanket and place your forehead on the edge of the blanket, arms stretched out in front in this child's pose. And notice the breath coming down into your abdomen. you are also momentarily closing the groin system. And that's the next place on the lymph that we want to address is the groin. So notice that the hip crease is closed. And then inhale, come up to table pose. Let's push the blanket out of the way and lie on your stomach. When you lie down, turn your head to one side, make two fists, lift your hips and place the fists at the crease of the groin there. And you can let the pressure of the fists in the groin, right? So it's between the pubic bone and the hip bones. You should feel like there's actually pressure right there. And then lift your right leg, lower it down, lift the left leg, lower it down. So this is in the lymph area. We're not in the lower abdomen at the moment. You are in the crease of the groin. But there is a yoga pose where you put two fists in the lower belly and then you lift the legs. That's called Salambhasana. And we'll do that a little bit later in class this morning on behalf of the reproductive organs there. But this is for the lymph system. You might be getting a sense of why walking is so important for the lymph system. Not only that it's movement, but also what it does in the groin here. Let's release that. And now place your hands beneath your shoulders. Come up to table pose. Curl your toes under. And reach into downward facing dog pose. So the next place in the lymph system is going to be behind the knees and into the calf muscles. While we're here in dog pose, let's pump the legs by raising up on the toes and lowering down. So you actually are just lifting the heels and lowering them. And then walk your hands and feet towards each other and come into Uttanasana. You can bend the knees. Doesn't have to be a big bend of the knees, but some little bend of the knees. Take your hands behind the knees and make little circles right there. And then shift your hands to your hips, rise up to standing, come into mountain pose, and place the feet a little bit wider than hip distance. A variation on mountain pose if you want to be specific, and then give yourself a little bounce. So pick up your heels and just bounce. Also for the lymph system. If you have a little trampoline, that's great. I don't have one of those. A little bouncing. Let the whole body respond. Might practice doing it with your eyes closed and see if you can keep your balance. It's not necessary to challenge yourself with that, but it might be fun. Okay, and then bring that to a close and stand in mountain pose. You might take your more familiar mountain pose and just see how things feel, having done this pretty short lymph treatment, right? It's like, takes more time for me to explain it than it would be for you to do it if you just did it in sequence on your own. Not to say that what comes next in class won't also be, is what I meant to say there. Let me say that sentence again. It's not to say that what comes next in class won't also be supporting your lymph system. It's just that this is a specific little series that you can do to support your lymph system. Now we're going to move to the endocrine system, and I'm also going to start from the top down. So with the lymph system, we start with the primary cleansing spot in the lymph here. So the lymph from the legs has to make it all the way up into the groin. And then from the head, it comes into the collarbones. We also want the lymph in other parts of the body to come into the armpits, and then the body takes care of releasing that with this whole lymphatic drainage process. The endocrine system, we're going to start from the top down, starting with the pituitary and the pineal gland. And that's because the pituitary is the master gland, and I'd like to give you a movement through the whole system in today's practice. So starting with the head, and this might seem like a little bit of a strange practice, but I'm going to ask you to reach around and take your hair, as much of it as you can hold. And if you're bald, I'll give you instructions in a moment. And once you get a grip on this, hold you, it's like being Pebbles from the Flintstones. Remember her, I think her hairdo was something like this, but she had a bone. Once you get a hold of that, I'd like you just to pull up with your hand and then turn. So you're going to stimulate your scalp. And that means that if you're bald, find a way to stimulate the scalp. You can use your hand to make like a suction cup, and you want to be turning and giving this stretch is basically happening to the hair follicles, the skin. Get a sense of where the crown chakra is. And do that one more time, pulling up. Okay, so if that is where the crown chakra is, you can just have a sense of that. So it's an energetic center, not specifically a geographical or like a bony structure in the body. It is an energetic center. Please take a wide stance. Come down to a standing wide leg forward bend. And ideally, you're going to be able to place your head on something at the crown chakra. That is not going to be possible for everyone's hamstrings. So let me first describe for those who can use a block this way, and then I'll describe for those who cannot. So for me, when I come down, with or without a block, the crown of my skull reaches the floor. And that is not just because of flexible hamstrings, it is also because of my body proportions. I have a longer torso and shorter legs. So for those of you who need to use a block, I'll demonstrate this way. The crown of the skull is going to press firmly down against the block. For those for whom your hamstrings will not allow you to come down this deeply, you're going to stack a couple of blocks. I'll make pretend, and then turn one block, like I just turned this one. Place your hands there to hold the block so you are able to press the crown of your skull into the block. So you want the forward bend that is comfortable for you. With the amount of pressure on the top of the head that suits you. And then the breath being deep in the body. We'll do 4 more breath cycles, long and smooth. And then release your hands back to your hips. And please rise up to standing. And we'll go heel toe to center. Okay, so that is the top of the head. It's going to come around again, so don't worry if you didn't get as much pressure on your head as you would want to there. Please come to your hands and knees. Okay, now moving from the crown of the skull, we're going to start including the throat and the forehead together. So please come to table pose. This is also going to support the lymph system. So again, we're not leaving one system behind. Let's walk the hands well forward and come down to a kind of puppy dog pose where you can have your forehead comfortably against the floor. Now, not everybody has a comfortable floor. I happen to have a padded situation here. There's a carpet under my yoga mat. So it's quite comfortable to put the forehead directly down.
and the nose is not being crushed. If you need to, please put a blanket there for your forehead so your nose is not bothered, your shoulders are not strained, and the forehead has support. And we're going to roll the head gently side to side. And come to center. Keeping your hands pressing down firmly. With your inhale, raise up to table pose. It's a long table pose, right? And then bring the left hand in so it's close. Reach back with your hips, touch the left elbow down, turn your head to your right, and stretch the right arm and the right armpit primarily. Take a deep breath in. Exhale completely. Inhale up to this awkward table pose. Step the left hand well forward, bring your right hand back under, and as you reach back, touch the right elbow down, turn your head to your left. A deep breath in, keep the left arm stretched out and strong. On the exhale, tone the belly, then inhale, come back up to your awkward table pose. Walk the hands forward once again. And now this time as you come down, I'd like you to take the hips less far back and walk down so that the chest and heart are going to be coming down towards the floor. Now, again, that's not within everybody's flexibility to come down so low, but it is going to open the chest and the heart and the throat. So for some of you, it's going to be better to put a blanket for the elbows to reach, and then the chin can be on the blanket with the elbows, or put a couple blankets if you need to. But please open the throat, the upper back, the shoulders, the armpits to the best of your ability. So the throat is forward, the chest and heart are open. And then inhale and come forward onto your elbows and your abdomen. And again, open the heart and the throat. Walk the elbows forward, hold the place behind your earlobes. So if you put your index finger behind the earlobe and the other fingers in front, you can walk the elbows forward. We're going to stretch the front of the throat. You can scoot the legs back a little bit, open the armpits as well. And now long, deep diaphragmatic breathing. And slow down the inhale and slow down the exhale. Every breath cycle is giving a message to your body's intelligence and helping to set the rhythm and the pulsation of renewal. Stretch the chin forward for one more inhale. Notice the deep breath that's possible in the low belly and the back waist. And then exhale and walk your hands to a place beneath your shoulders and bring your forehead down to the floor without crushing your nose. Enjoy a deep breath in. You'll notice the back waist expands here. Let's root down with the tops of the feet. Press down with your shins and your knees and your thighs. Root the tailbone down towards the floor. Tone the lower belly. And then inhale and roll up to cobra pose, opening the heart, throat, and bring your gaze forward. And then exhale and roll down to pranam. I'm going to call this pranam. Touch your forehead down. Inhale, roll up to cobra. Exhale, roll down. So in rolling down, you're going to touch that lymphatic center again in the abdomen. As you roll up, now we've got the thymus gland in the chest and heart region, the throat, open the eyes. There you've got movement through the entire upper hemisphere of the trunk. And think of the rhythm like an ocean in no particular hurry. If the spine undulates comfortably, vertebrae to vertebrae, when you rise up, you'll be able to lift your gaze up in cobra pose without any sense of compromising your neck. One more time, we're going to roll down. Now take the arms alongside your torso, turn your head to one side. Allow your body to recalibrate for a few moments. Give yourself lots of appreciation. And then while we're here, we'll take the fists once again and do the pose called Salambasana. So now what you're going to be doing is placing your fists in the lower belly. It's just above the pubic bone, so the elbows are going to be bent. You're in that kind of watery area of the belly. Touch your forehead down to the floor. Lengthen the tailbone back. Notice your fists as a friendly support in the lower belly. And then pick up the feet, the shins, the knees. I don't expect that you're going to go up that high before you feel the pressure against your fists. We keep the forehead down. In this case, we're keeping the chest and heart down as well. Breathe in. Exhale, lower your legs down. Inhale, notice the back waist. And then exhale, tone, lengthen your tailbone, raise the legs. They may not come very high, that's okay. And exhale, lower down. Inhale, notice the back waist, the kidneys, the adrenals. And then exhale, lengthen the tailbone, energize your legs. And then you can add the lift of your chest, your heart, your head. Roll the shoulders back. And exhale to lower down. Let's release the hands. Reach back and interlace your fingers at your lower back. Squeeze the shoulders back. Raise the shoulders and the arms. Inhale to come up to this variation of Salambasana. And then exhale to lower down. Place your hands beneath your shoulders. Press up to table pose. Reach back to child's pose. In child's pose, you can walk the hands forward. Bow your forehead towards the floor. Relax your elbows on the ground. And then walk your hands back towards your knees. And rise up to kneeling, come up to Vajrasana.
So I was saying, oh, there's gonna be pressure on your head again. Don't worry, it's coming back around. There's various ways to touch different centers. So here you've come down and touched all these different centers in the body, including down into the base of this sort of pyramid of organs in the endocrine system, down to the reproductive organ. You also have been still moving the lymph system, of course. And then some of you are going to sense the digestive system also. Now we're going to put pressure on the top of the head in a different way. There's a couple ways to do it. For some of you, it's quite nice. You have a lot of experience here with me in class. So we're going to do rabbit pose, which is also called hare pose. And then some of you are going to find that you're going to be comfortable putting the crown of the skull on the floor a little bit longer. And so 4 blocks will be necessary for that. But let's take a look at this hare pose, how we do it. Not the same as the hare pose from earlier. That's hare, H-A-I-R. This is hare, H-A-R-E, also called rabbit pose. So place your hands on the floor near your knees. Come down to a snug or compact version of child's pose. Touch your hairline down to the floor and then roll up to the crown of your skull. You can keep the elbows bent and the shoulders kind of lifted. But the top of the head presses firmly down. The chin is snug in towards your throat. Keep breathing. And exhale, lower your hips back down to your heels. Bring your torso upright. And I'm going to show you a little sequence that we can do to go between hare pose and a kind of reverse table pose, which in Sanskrit would be called Purvottanasana. It's not important to have Sanskrit names for these. It's important to recognize the tradition from which the practice comes and to use the Sanskrit names for things like Sushumna Nadi and Ida and Pingala. But a lot of the yoga poses actually are more contemporary, and they're known by both their English and their Sanskrit words. So in this case, reverse table pose, we're going to do it where you put the fingertips down, you roll the chest and heart open like this. Purvottanasana would mean intense east side stretch, which is the front side of the body. And then we'll exhale when we come down. You're going to roll down. The hands can now stay back by the feet. And you put the back of the hands on the floor as you roll up to rabbit pose. The shoulders still stay lifted away from the floor. And then we roll back. Turn over the fingers, come to your palms, open the chest and the heart and the throat. So this we could say is the inhalation. And then exhale, come forward and down, put the back of the hands on the floor near your feet, touch your hairline down, roll up to hare pose or rabbit pose. And then exhale, hips down to your heels. And inhale, open into reverse table pose. And exhale, coming forward and down. So the back of the hands are on the floor here, still roll up to rabbit pose. And then exhale and come to Vajrasana. Just try to take notice of what's happening for you in the upper region. So you've got there, we had the pituitary, the pineal, the crown chakra, the 6th chakra. We worked with the thyroid, the throat chakra, a little bit in the thymus, near to the 4th chakra, and the heart. So if you'd like a way to put more pressure, not more pressure really, but more consistent, a little bit longer duration of that pressure on the top of the head. Let me do this. I'll take 2 different colors of blocks so you can see it. You put 2 blocks on the flat setting like this. This is the general setup for most people. However, some of you are going to need a little bit more lift on these blocks because of the length of your neck. So I can only show you The base, you'll have to consult with me individually or with a teacher who's knowledgeable to help you get this dialed in more precisely. The shoulders are going to go here.
The hands go on the floor. So this is like the first rabbit pose that we did. And then you can lift your hips. And you're in a kind of supported headstand pose. You're welcome to try that if you have 4 blocks. It puts pressure on the top of the head. The neck should feel supported, but also that you're actually using the downward pressure of the crown of the skull against the floor. And this does become full headstand for people where they can step right up to headstand. Not necessary to do that this morning. You're in your personal practice space. I don't know what's behind you or how balanced you're going to be. So you can put this pressure on the top of the head with the support of 4 yoga blocks. I find that if you only have 2 blocks, it does not work to have the blocks just simply up on the tall setting. Even though you think maybe the height is nearly equivalent, and it is, this is not very stable. This situation is not stable. Just like at the moment, Panda Kitty is not stable. I know you can't see her, but she's not stable where she is. I hope she doesn't crash the system down. That's one of her nicknames, by the way, is Pandemonium. Panda, Panda Min, Panda Min Min, Min Min, Pandemonium, Mini Pan, Panda Mini. She's got a lot of names. Okay, and I have a lot of blocks. So that's a way to come in from the top of the system. Let's take the next pose from the top of the system. Please keep 2 blocks nearby. I'll put my extras back here. Lie on your back. So from the top of the system away, if you only have 2 blocks and you could not make that headstand we just did, you go like this. You put 1 block at the crown of the skull. Take the second block. I like to have mine on the medium setting like this between my hands. You reach back and holding on to the second block, you firm each block towards the top of your head and press. So a really nice stretch for the shoulders, the upper back, also a great opportunity for the breath to come down into the pelvis. Let's come back into diaphragmatic breathing and make it long and smooth. You're going to keep good pressure against the crown of the skull towards the blocks and the blocks towards the crown of the skull. There will also be some tone in the throat as a result, but the forehead can be smooth. I like to say free from worries and hurries. And then release the pressure of the blocks. Let the arms float into cactus pose. So they're going to lay against the ground like a reclined cactus. That's why we call it cactus pose. Now we'll take these 2 blocks and put them near where you can reach them with your hands easily. Something like this. Press into both heels, tuck the shoulders under, raise your hips up and come to supported bridge pose. I have 2 different colors of blocks so you can see where the 2 blocks are. They both go on the flat setting. Press the shoulders down, lift your chest and your heart. For those of you who'd like to, you could hold the edges of your yoga mat to further support and strengthen your shoulders. Some of you may find that you want to stand with your fingers under your heels. That's a nice way to do it as well. If you have a yoga strap, you could hold on to the strap between your 2 hands. With the blocks here, it's very hard to clasp the hands, so we don't generally say that in this position. If the blocks were not here, you could clasp the hands. So press the shoulders down, press the heels down, raise the hips an inch or so off of the blocks, and keep the breath smooth and steady. And lower the hips down to the blocks, but maintain the strength of your arms. If you were holding your heels on your toes, now is a good time to hold the edges of your yoga mat. Pick up the knees. Take the legs up to candlestick pose. So keep the shoulders pressing firmly down, the heart rising up. Your gaze can be towards your heart. This also acts as a good drainage for the lymph system. The calves have to work the most or the hardest to move the lymph back up towards the collarbone. So now they have the support of gravity. Let's bend the knees, touch the toes back down, raise your hips. Take the two blocks with your hand, uncurl the shoulders, and then put the soles of the feet together and put the blocks to the outsides of the knees. Okay, now you have two blankets. I got my own hair stuck in my mouth there. You have two blankets, and I'd like you to use them each for different purposes. Okay, one of them, we're going to take, let's say, fold it like a cummerbund. I sometimes talk about like when you're the sushi, this just goes across here. It's to quiet the ribs and the abdomen. It lets the adrenals know you're going to relax now, energy going inward. The second blanket, I'd like you to do this with it. I know most of you are lying down already, so let's see what kind of dexterity you have here. If you take this blanket, it's a longer blanket left to right, right? So it's longer in this way. And I'd like you to take it, you could watch me for a second here. It's going to go under your head, but put it under so that you're going to be able to wrap this around your head. Like this. You can watch me here. So we take this one and this one, and I want those to stay for you so that you've got the eyes covered, the ears are closed in, and then we're coming to Shavasana. So see if you can get this sorted out here where it's going to stay for you. And then palms can go face up. And allow the breath to become rhythmic and smooth. Once again, no particular hurries, no worries, no mental flurries. I like this position for the legs, the Supta Baddha Konasana, as directing energy towards the lowest part of the hormone system there, but very important aspect of the hormone system, the reproductive organs. Also very helpful for your digestive system. And since the lymph is going to rely on digestion to help move the energy, this is a wonderful way to support both your endocrine and your lymph systems. Invite your whole body to relax, but to be really deeply at ease. Allow your mind and your body to deeply relax. This is a time of integration. Mental surrender will allow the intelligent systems of your body to take care of you. I'll ask you to rest deeply for 1 more minute, to picture all the systems in your body taking care of you. Mental surrender kind of unburdens those systems. Whereas mental activation will prevent those symptoms from coming back into balance. Primarily because you stimulate your nervous system, then the endocrine system has to respond. And deeply rest a few more moments. You can reach up and sort of peel the blanket off of your forehead first. The light is going to come back into your face, through your eyes. And then you can take off your sushi blanket. I don't actually eat sushi, but I just like the term, you know, how they put that little piece of seaweed around the rice. And then bring your knees up to center, put the 2 blocks aside. And you can return to sitting. Come up to your comfortable seat. We would be remiss to start a class discussing Sushumna Nadi and not to have Nadi Shodhana to finish our practice. And we'll do that together. It's chilly in my room, so I'm just going to wrap up a little bit. Bring the right hand up. Once you come up, once you feel ready to, bring your right hand up and we'll come into Nadi Shodhana, the cleansing of the nadis. Shodhana means cleansing. Nadi are these nadis. Ida and Pingala are 2 primary nadis. Sushumna is the central nadi, and then there's 72,000 in the body. So cleansing the nadis. Start with inhale on the left side. And exhale on the right side. Of course, in your own timing. Then you'll inhale right and exhale left in your own timing. Going back and forth between the nostrils, switching after the inhalation. When you complete your next exhale in the left nostril, moving out through the left side, then you can rest both hands in your lap.
And then picturing not just that the nervous system, the endocrine and lymph systems have had this beneficial practice, but now that the chakra system may also be more radiant or vibrant. Raise your hands to your heart. Thank you very much for sharing your practice. May this practice benefit us personally, but from that benefit, may it also radiate out to be of benefit to others. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me and with the community. And as a reminder, this practice was taught during our yoga therapy training. So this practice is meant to be medicinal for you, but you should always consult with your doctor about anything regarding your health and well-being. If you do have questions about the practice, please leave down below into the comments section. If you are interested in yoga teacher training, also you can check this URL here across the screen and in the description below the video as well. You feel integrated and vital and at peace today. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.